Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at how we can take the product of two numbers in standard form, okay, or just two regular numbers pretty much, and put them in scientific notation. All right, so there's a couple ways to do this. One of the ways is much faster than the other. I'm going to do the way that's a little more explanatory, maybe a little more in detail, and then I'll do the faster way, and then you can pick which one you like, and then you can use that method on the test, okay? So let's see. Let's do the detail method first, all right? So it says express the product, that's important, okay, of 300 and 200 in scientific notation, all right? So the product is 300 times 200, right? Because product means multiplication, okay? So 300 times 200. Well, here's what we could do first. The first thing we could do is we could say, okay, 300 is the same thing as 3 times 10 squared, okay? And 200 is the same thing as 2 times 10 squared, okay? Because 10 squared is 100, 3 times 100 is 300, 2 times 10 squared is 100, 2 times 100 is 200, okay? And so instead of 300 times 200 in this form, we could write it in this form. So we would have 3 times 10 squared times 2 times 10 squared, okay? And since this is all multiplication, okay, what we can do is just rearrange it. So we'll just have 3 times 2 times 10 squared times 10 squared, okay? 3 times 2 is 6 times 10 to the 10 squared times 10 squared. You have the same base here. So all you have to do is add the exponents, okay? And you're done, okay? Now this is scientific notation, okay? And you could also write it like this, 6.0 times 10 to the 4, okay? Both of these are correct, okay? So that's the little more detailed way. Let's see maybe it's a faster way. If you can use whichever one you like, okay? So let's do this way now, 300 times 200, okay? Since these numbers both end in 0, okay, and for test purposes, all right, these numbers both end in 0. So what you could do is you could just do 3 times 2 is 6. How many zeros are there? 1, 2. And we can only do this because it's multiplication, okay? It's multiplication here. So 3 times 2 is 6. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So that all you have to do is add 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, okay? And then all you have to do is convert this now to scientific notation, okay? But this number is just 60,000.0, so you have to move the decimal point to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll get 6.0 times 10 to the 4, because you had to jump, okay, 4 times, all right? And you'll see here that these are the same thing, okay? So you can use whichever method you want, all right? Let's do another example. Okay? So it says express the product of 600 and 300, okay? So the first one, let's see. So let's do the detail method again. So 600 times 300, okay? 600 is the same thing as 6 times 10 squared, okay? 300 is the same thing as 3 times 10 squared, okay? So 600 times 300 is the same thing as scientific notation, is 600 in scientific notation times 3 times 10 squared, okay? 300 in scientific notation, okay? So instead of 600 times 300, we can write 6 times 10 squared times 3 times 10 squared, okay? And just like before, we can rearrange because multiplication is commutative. You can move it around, all right? So we get 6 times 3 times 10 squared times 10 squared. 6 times 3 is 18 times 10 to the 10 squared times 10 squared, same base. So we add the exponents. 2 plus 2 is 4, so we get 10 to the 4. But now there's a little bit of a problem, okay? Because right now this is not in scientific notation. 18 is not in between 1 and 10. This number has to be in between 1 and 10. So what you could do is, since this is really 18.0 times 10 to the fourth, you could jump to the left real quick and just change it to 1.8 times 10 to the, now because you jumped once to the left, okay, we don't want to change what what this number is equal to, okay, so we're going to have to add a jump here, so that way we can jump back, okay, so we were at 18.0 times 10 to the 4, okay, but we had to switch it to 1.8, okay, but we want to be able to jump back, so we tack on 10 to the 5th, okay, so if you were to expand this, you would get 1.8, and then you'd move the decimal 5 times, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And you'd get 0, 0, 0, 0, okay? It'd be 180,000, okay? And if you were to take this one, okay, just like you could do the same thing with this one, you could do 18 times 10 to the 4, okay? And you would just take the 18.0 and move the decimal 4 times to the right, so you'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 0, 0, and you get 180,000, okay? We can't leave it like this, okay? These are both equal, but we can't leave it like this in this form because it's not in scientific notation, okay? It needs to be in scientific notation, all right? Let's look at the same problem using the other method, okay? So let's see, 600 times 300. Well, 6 times 3 is 18. Okay. 6 times 3 is 18. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now you already have 180,000. Okay. And now we just need this is in standard form, we just need to convert it to scientific. Okay, so once we convert it to scientific, we'll get, let's see, 0.0. Okay, so we want to go to scientific, so that means we need to move the decimal point right in here between the 1 and the 8 because the number has to be in between 1 and 10. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we get 1.8 times 10 to the 5. Okay, and that's the same one as over here. Okay, so it doesn't matter which method you use, okay, as long as you're doing it correctly and you don't forget any steps. Okay, so maybe this method was you felt a little more comfortable using this method, or maybe it's okay that you just multiply the numbers, you get a standard form, and then you just go to scientific form. Okay, so whichever method you prefer, you can use.